2004, what is it, a Chevy Astro?
Yes.
With the 4.3. Issue is it's a crank no start. Should be a real quick video. Anyways, it's not start now. Most of the time it would run. We drove it for a 45, 50 mile trip. It'd run. Long story short, we scoped the fuel injectors. We scoped the fuel pump. We got fuel pressure on a gauge there. Everything's good. However, can you hold this? When we're doing, look up there. We're doing secondary ignition with an oscilloscope. Go back to this. I'm gonna crank it. Okay, we've got a little bit of weak battery. We've been cranking for a while. But this waveform is completely wrong. And I'm on the primary side of the ignition coil, and I get this and the same on the the same on the primary side of the ignition coil and the same on the wires going to the plugs. There's no dwell time in here. There's no energy being built up. I'm gonna let this battery charge up a little bit more, go from there. What we're gonna do now is go on the primary side of the ignition coil with our schematics here. Here's your ignition coil, here's your injector driver module. I believe the injector driver module is controlling it, but we're gonna check the primary side. Go ahead and hit start it. Stop. So I'm going to pause it there. I'm going to zoom in. What I look for is, well, so hard to do this with one hand. But I look for, there's no oscillations right there. There's no oscillations. There should be oscillations there. There is none right there. And it's very square. It should be more of a ramp up, not straight, more of a ramp up. So we're gonna do now, just put a new ignition coil in and go from there. All right, I didn't get to film the rest of that video because my phone died and it's getting pretty late. But this, from the very beginning of that video, this is what we had just right here. They spiked the kV kilovolts. But what we should have had is coil oscillation here for the secondary ignition, for your dwell time building up, your spike, and then your burn line and the coil oscillation. We didn't have any of this but the spike. So that's why I had an ignition coil issue. Well, that's the secondary side, which is a known good. In the video, you can see that it's bad. What I'm gonna show you next is the primary side of the ignition coil. All right, so this is a good image of a primary side. You got your oscillations building up for your energy building up. It's more of a ramp. That's the primary side of the ignition coil, which is a good one. So what we end up doing on this vehicle is we put a new ignition coil in there, which was bad. We also put a new ICM ignition control module in there that controls it all, because it's kind of a pain in the butt. Well, it is a pain in the butt to get to on this one. So we did that. We also did the cap and rotor, because the cap and rotor had a bunch of crusties on it. It was just in there for, well, it looked like it was the original stuff. So vehicle runs awesome now, no issues. So that is it for this video.